Hello, yogis. Thank you so much for coming to the mat with me today. I'm excited. We're going to revisit some of our focus from last Thursday where we integrated Sun Salutation C, which is essentially warrior series, but where you're coming out of it into downward facing dog. For those of you that are hungry for dog series, you could certainly take it right into that. Next week, I am going to be integrating dog series as a group. But this week I'm still not doing that. On my Monday classes, I'm doing a lot of breaking this stuff down and alignment stuff. So for those of you who were with me this past Monday, there's a strong focus on inner and external rotation with the thighs. And so the importance of in crescent lunge or warrior one with that back foot flat, which we're doing today in our sun salutation. The importance of having the thighs internally rotated, which steers those hip bones forward. And then in Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2, of having the thighs externally rotated, which brings my pelvis and legs and hopefully torso all into alignment. So I won't be going through that breakdown, but if you're curious and you're like, I'm not really sure, am I doing it, am I not? Go back and check out Monday's class. I think it would be really helpful too. As always, this class is focusing on bringing breath. I think of it as steady breath or abiding breath to flow. So it's challenging because our heart rate gets up a little bit and so on. You can take a break anytime you want, but I also recommend, I guess, just experimenting, getting more comfortable, more relaxed with being a little bit elevated, and in each moment of pause between the flows, trying to reconnect to that slow, steady breath. And of course, you can, like I said, take a break anytime you like, whether it's in child's pose or ragdoll or early shavasana. That's totally legal. I also want to point out that some of the postures that we're experiencing today, like boat pose, Navasana, for example, the ability to really root and reach is so important. It makes all the difference between us feeling kind of exhausted and weak and powerful and able, and that we're using the right stuff, strengthening the right stuff, and keeping relaxed in, for example, the neck and the tongue and so on. So notice if at any point you feel like you aren't rooting and reaching, but you're kind of collapsing inward. That's your time to go back to the easier version. And we'll actually be doing that cycle 3 times. So you'll have a chance to start off low intensity and then move to more effort. And your body will tell you if you're in integrity. Are you in breath? Are you in root and reach? Is your neck soft? Can you smile? Are you having fun? Those are great signs that you are in integrity and that you're in fact practicing yoga and not striving. So thank you again for being with me on this journey. Let's start off today on our back bodies. We're going to explore our compression breath to get into our core. And I'm going to invite you to take it from there into 3-part breath, which again, I'm not breaking down in this particular class, but have previously. So if you're following along with the Monday basics, you would have gotten that before. So first, just letting yourself get comfortable. If you want low back support, knees might be bent. Sometimes people like butterfly. You might just be spread on out in a good old corpse pose. Let's actually begin with 3 sighing breaths, gathering a long inhale through the nose, asking, is there more? Letting it go through the mouth. Again. Really giving your body to gravity. It's so important that as we move into our practice that we are in each moment and each breath, and that we're not leaning forward into the future or striving. I remind you, there is nothing to know, do, or accomplish. This is your yoga for the day. Coming into your 3 points of introversion, turning your gaze up and in, lightly connecting the end of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth. And coming into your Ujjayi breath. I went through the details of Ujjayi on Monday, and it's a wonderful breath focus and one of my favorite ways to bring my mind to the moment and what my body is doing. And you're ready, contract the throat slightly and create your own ocean sounding breath. Deeply curious to find the pause, the gap between the turns of the breath. See if you can find your own wave rhythm and the silence between. Scanning once again your face and neck and tongue and shoulders, that they are relaxed, that you have just that little bit of effort in the throat, light contraction of the tongue, but otherwise you have the countenance of someone who's just perhaps lying under a tree on a warm, sunny day and enjoying the feeling of it on your skin. We would love to bring that level of equanimity even into the most engaged of postures, an ongoing challenge that is yoga. So as we move now into compression and expansion, join me. Big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor, emptying. Is there more? Is there more? Softening and allowing yourself to be breathed, sipping in a little extra. And again, a couple more. And then inviting you to join me in rock pose. So it's that same compression anchoring and then adding a tightening of the body, hands into fists and so on. And maybe even turning it into a sit-up motion. And those of you, keep going, who were with me on 3-part breathing when we explored that, you might bring that now into your inhales. So we're exhaling compression with or without rock pose. And as you release for the inhale, see if you can invite it into the low belly, the diaphragm, the sternum or clavicle area. Is there more? And again, a couple more rounds. Exhaling compression with or without rock pose. I sometimes like to leave my legs anchored and just do the sit-up with the upper body. Notice my feet are deeply flexed for stability and core strength. Inhaling, release, 3-part breath. Check in that your neck is remaining soft. You can roll the head side to side. And let's do that one last time. Remember, you can sigh anytime. It's a wonderful way to release any tension or storing that you might have taken on. We're going to come into another powerful pranayama or breath practice, which is basically our bellows breath, this rapid breathing in and out through the nose like you're panting, but with the mouth closed. And I'm going to add a little bit of rock pose with sit-up and start flapping my wings, kind of little flapping with the breath. Big inhale. Exhale into your pose. Maybe you just stay on the floor. And when you're ready, bellows breath. See if you've got a couple more. And then a big release. Inhale. sweep the arms overhead and just begin to roll ankles and wrists. Imagine you're waking up for the first time today. Oh, you might flex the hands and the feet. That can be a marvelous stretch. And then release and just get limp. All right, we're gonna come up to seated, and you might roll to one side and press up, or a practice that we're gonna be playing with today throughout this next series, this next flow, is this possibility of rocking up either onto your butt or actually onto your feet. Those of you who did the kind of anti-aging experiment with me will remember the goal of getting onto your feet from the floor without using your hands. That's a great thing to be practicing if you're bored and looking for something fun to do these days. For now, we're going to come into seated, and I really want to find my root. And in this position, it's my sits bones. It's those bony guys at the bottom of the butt, and you might be able to even kind of feel them if you rock back and forth. And I'm going to reach up through the crown of my head. It's really important that my chin is neutral or dropped. I don't want to be reaching through the chin because it's going to create a lot of stress on the neck. So I'm going to invite you to just hold here with me and see what it takes to breathe here. Deep, slow, abiding, steady. Again, however you want to think of it. Finding your root, your reach, a few ujjayi breaths. You might even think about that 3-part breath coming from the belly to the diaphragm to the clavicle. And then we're going to add, and we've got lots of options as we prepare for boat pose, which like I said, we'll progressively go deeper with. One position is just to simply walk those feet back towards you without giving up your spine. Stay rooted and reaching. It's like your heart's going to where the ceiling and the wall meet. And just lift your feet. And for a lot of us, this will create a wonderful kind of position of kind of shaking and finding your balance, and the core is being woken up here in wonderful ways. Keep those shoulders anchored, keep your breath going, and perhaps you feel that you can release the arms. If that creates a lot of stress in those hip flexors or quads, you might keep the arms right here. We also know that we can play with just lifting one foot at a time, doing opposite limb like so. These are some of the more basic ways to be in boat. Most importantly, we're interested in that root and reach, that broadening of breath into the heart space. Hopefully you've been taking a little pause now and then. Find your position. Take 1 or 2 more breaths. And you'll be relieved to know we're coming into bridge. So simply come on down to your back, plant the feet beneath the knees, and rise those hips on up. Now, if this is your first bridge today, you might feel like, ooh, I'm a little stiff, I just want to pulse. Maybe you're ready to hold in your upper end. Maybe you're adding yoga mudra. We're going to be here for about 3 breaths, sending the knees away from us, the heart up and back, imagining that you've got that block between the thighs. Feel the root of the feet, the reach of the heart and the hips. And when you come down, nice and slow, 1 rib at a time, bring knees to belly, and we're going to make our journey all the way onto our feet. Your choice to do a gentle roll to the side as I talked about, or make your journey onto your feet. Experiment. How much effort, how much oomph does it take to get there? And then just fold. A little bit of ragdoll here. This is wonderful decompression for the spine. And on a long inhale, sit the butt to chair, and inhaling, root and rise. Exhaling, prayer hands. Good. Inhaling, root and rise. Your arms might sweep out to the sides or up. Exhaling, sit that butt slowly into the chair that is not there. And check that you're feeling that strong, low robot belly connection as I think of it. You might challenge your balance a little by coming onto the balls of the feet. Can you bring a soft neck and abiding breath to this? Still finding a root and reach from your tailbone or sits bones to your crown. Inhaling, root and rise up. Beautiful. Exhaling, forward fold, ragdoll. Inhaling, extending the spine. And then exhaling, and this might be a little fun, trying to sit back onto your butt for your next boat. So if you're willing to be a little adventurous, otherwise just support yourself on the way down. All right, coming into your base again and finding that root and reach, coming into your version. So remember, the more you can keep your thighs close to your belly, the better. If you are able to straighten the legs or one leg at a time, great, but we want to be in a V. So this is not our boat or Navasana. We'd much rather have the thighs close. And again, maybe you're straightening one leg and taking the opposite hands. Couple breaths. Finding slow, steady breath inside of the effort. And coming on down to your back. Big inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhale, press up, bridge pose. Now if you're adding Yoga Mudra, think about doing non-dominant hand clasp. So in other words, if normally your left thumb ends up on top, retwine the fingers, intertwine them so that the right thumb is on top. If it feels awkward, this is good. We need to do it then. Rooting and reaching, breathing into the shape. Okay, and coming slowly on down. And see if you can make your transition to your ragdoll smoother. Big inhale, exhale, letting that spine really decompress. And then inhaling, sitting into your chair to rise up. This is a great way to take care of our back, a great way to come upward. Inhaling, sweep up. Exhaling, slide that chair slowly down, or the butt slowly down into your chair. Staying soft in the neck. Now, if you feel a bunch of neck and shoulder tension, bring those arms down, or even have them on the hips, right? And if your knees are not appreciating anything, you edit that part out, or you make it less deep. And maybe you're coming onto the balls of the feet. All right, let's go straight from here down into Boat Navasana if you can. I'm gonna skip the mountain in between. Just see if you can bring it on down. What if you lean your weight a little more forward? Made that transition a little gentler. And as you're ready, root and reach, sits bones to crown. Find your bridge, your Navasana. Another fun version that I really like is taking the legs wide, just giving a little bit of a different hip exercise for those hip flexors. And release, come slowly on down, and take the hips up one more time to your bridge pose. Maybe you want to take those feet wider in kind of like a horse riding stance as I think of it. Our body appreciates being asked to operate in many planes of motion. So it really takes on a lot of stress when we're always repeating the same angles and alignments of sitting, standing. So whenever your body says, yes, let's change it up, go for it. All right, and coming slowly on down. And we're gonna actually come from here into downward facing dog, where we're gonna flow into that Surya Namaskar C that I was talking about, the Sun Salutation that incorporates the Warrior Series. And for anybody for whom that's just not right today, then just come in to your regular Warrior Series from standing crane at the front of the mat. And again, at one point we rotate out into dog, and you can just return to your standing crane or mountain pose. Those of you who are ready to flow into downward facing dog, enjoy a big inhale. Plant the hands, intelligent hand position, shoulder heads down, and you might either step or jump back to your downward facing dog. And I like to pedal it out in dog moment, really make sure our body knows how to be here today. Pressing one heel towards the floor and the other. Checking that your hands really are parallel or wider than the shoulders. Shoulder heads anchor down the back. And in this practice, I'm using leg flying, but you can again always edit that out. Otherwise, inhaling, take your right leg flying, heel flexed. And at first, keep your hip neutral. This is such good work for those glute muscles that don't get a lot of opportunity to work this way. One more big inhale. If you'd like to add a hip opener, this would be a good time to do that. Exhale, neutral those hips for that internal thigh rotation. Bring that right foot forward. Grab it if you've got to. Get it right under your knee. Plant that back foot in warrior one if you can. And steer that right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Inhale, root and rise. We can check that hip steering again once we're up. Enjoy a long inhale, slow, deep, and wide. If you'd like to add a back bend, you can. Exhaling, transition to your Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. I often will look at my own arms or legs to check alignment. Big inhale. Slow and steady as you can. Inhale, exalted warrior. Reach up through that right arm. The hips are sinking. And here's where I'm going to exhale and rotate out to downward facing dog. Coming onto the ball, that back foot, and stepping back. Big inhale, exhale, sigh. Or if you're wanting to move into dog series and toss that in here, this would be your chance. The rest of us, one more long sighing breath, or maybe you're moving to a child's pose. And now inhaling slowly, left leg flying. And again, initially, hips are neutral, shining right at the floor. Your vision is back kind of by your back foot now, drishti gaze. If you'd like to open the hip, long inhale, rooting and reaching in as many directions as you can. There's nothing collapsing here. Exhaling, neutral the hip and round the back, just like you do in cat back to bring this foot forward. Plant that back foot, steer those hip bones, right hip bone forward, left hip bone back. When you come up into this, you should feel strong. If this feels hard, probably some alignment's not quite clicked in because you are strong enough to do this. One more long inhale, rising. Exhaling, opening to your Virabhadrasana 2. Again, any version, if you like platter hands, just find your way with breath rising and settling. Inhaling, exalted warrior, reversed warrior, whichever you prefer. You can always straighten the leg if that thigh wants a break. And on an exhale, rotate and step back. And let's take it into child's pose if you weren't already there. Take those knees wide and let the butt come back by the heels. You might turn the head to one side. Notice the effect that sighing breaths have on your system. We know that 3 sighing breaths calm our amygdala. So it's a wonderful way inside of intensity of any kind, physical or emotional, to tell our whole system, I am well, I am whole, I am safe. Marvelous. And I should have warned you that you really want a block today. If you don't have one, you can certainly imagine that it exists. But there are a couple of different things we're going to want it for. Right now we're going to be coming onto our belly. And again, you could just imagine that you have a block, or in fact, if having your arms straight forward like so causes neck or shoulder stress, then I would much rather have you just imagine that you're kind of squeezing something or pushing.
but we're basically coming into Superman, a lot like jet airplane. So if having your arms forward at all is problematic, just do a jet airplane, okay? Otherwise, the rest of us are going to take the block the long ways, like so, between the hands, resting on the forehead, anchoring through the pelvic triangle. Inhale. First, just push the block as far away from you as you can. Good. And then on another long inhale, when it comes, root through the pelvis, and then you're reaching through the head and the feet and the hands, away from that center root. One more long breath here. See if you can push a little longer with the block. Imagine you want to hand it to somebody. And exhale, release. Turn your head to the other side. What does it take to get completely soft here? Are you able to do it? Sometimes it feels good to just bend the knees, windshield wiper the legs, that sort of thing. Always add any instinct from the body. It's almost always the right message. All right, we're going to do that one more time. And this is a challenging position to breathe into because you're on your belly, right? Where we think of the breath coming. So make sure you're thinking about that side body, your back body, really breathing into that. When you're ready, root. On a long inhale, reach and see if you can hold for about 3 breaths. Deeper, wider. Is there more? One more. Push your belly into the floor. Fill the whole body with breath. Exhale, release, and press back to your child's pose. All right, I'm going to invite you to bring some of that same breath intensity to our downward facing dog. I'm going to be inviting tripod dog, which is notoriously an intense pose because it offers a lot of balance challenge as well as strength. Reminder that a great alternate, if your wrists and shoulders are like, oh, not today, then you'll just want to do table with limb extensions. And it's all the same principles of really checking that you're not compensating, you're not wagging or collapsing. So when you're ready, first, please find your downward dog. If you want to do a little cow cat first, whatever is your path, come on in. Check that anchoring in the inner hand. This is really important. And then again, my knees are often bent in dog. And lastly, make sure you're connected in that sternum point. This is really huge for shoulder well-being and safety, to be more honest. So when you are ready, make sure both shoulders are anchored down the back and take your left hand back towards your left foot, fingertips tented. This might be plenty, by the way, and you want to check right here that you're still rooting and reaching, that I'm not giving into gravity or letting that right shoulder collapse. And then I'm going to see if I can release my right foot. Notice I'm just releasing it a little off the floor so that I can still check that I'm reaching through the heel. And then when I'm ready, I'll start reaching more up the wall and towards the sky. Big abiding breath. Pushing the earth away with the hand, drawing the core into the back body, just like you did when we were on our back in compression. And come back slowly with the foot, then the hand, and you might take a break. Usually those arms are happy to come out of that position, or roll wrists and so on. Slow, deep, and wide. All right, let's see what the other side's got. A lot of us have one shoulder that is different. Even if you don't actually have a shoulder injury, you might actually have something that shows up here in terms of weakness and so on. And this is the gift of going slow, is you get a chance to really notice those clues and take care of them. Big inhale. Is there more? Big exhale, belly to spine dog. Find your integrity in all those alignments. Again, shoulder heads externally rotating. I was talking about this in Monday's class, that the shoulders have a rotation that's critical as well as the thighs. Taking the right hand back, fingertips tented, And you're not, by the way, trying to touch that foot. You're just there poised. It's a nice, safe position. And then as you're ready, release that left foot. Root and reach. Check that you're not collapsing anywhere. And then, if and when you're ready, send that leg on up. And it helps to steady your gaze, a drishti gaze, kind of right between the feet if they were still both there. Good. Is this side different from a balance or strength standpoint? Where do you feel it? One more breath. And come on down. Lovely. And you're welcome to relax into child's or come right into our next posture, pigeon, which should feel pretty good after this. So I'm bringing my right knee behind my right wrist. Alternately, you could be on your back body in our reclined pigeon. And I like to make my way slowly on down, a little rocking side to side, a chance to notice what's really going on. And in classic pigeon, our hip bones are shining towards the floor in that neutral. Maybe you want to stack the hands or the fists. Maybe your head comes all the way to the floor. If you'd like more intensity, try pulling back with that back foot. And as you send deep, deep breath into the body, notice how it gives a massage. Perhaps into that right glute area, thigh. You might feel it even in the hip and back. To come out of the pose, always get the core a little engaged. Come on up. And I know some of you like adding like a little spinal twisting, right? Anything that feels good to you today. And as you're ready, you'll come on out. You might just return to dog with leg flying, or a little gentler would be to walk your left knee forward and just kick that leg or hip out. You can circle and so on. And as you're ready, we'll come into the other side, left knee coming behind the left wrist. And again, I'm taking time to neutral my hip bones so they're facing the floor and come on down. So a reminder, if you're somebody who classically has kind of instability in your sacrum or low back, this version of pigeon can often aggravate that. So I would recommend instead going onto your back and crossing the ankle onto the other thigh and so on, as we often do. This is a fun pose actually to add a little bellows breath to if you'd like to join me. And then a big inhale. I think of bellows breath as being really good for kind of popping the cork on any tension that's been building up in your body or being. All right, take your time and come on out, nice and slow. Dog or table, let that leg go. Again, maybe you need to kick it or rotate it. Marvelous. Okay, so we're going to walk the hands back to the feet or however you'd like to get there and just hang in a ragdoll a moment. And this should feel pretty good on those hamstrings and IT bands. You might kind of rotate a little side to side. When you're ready to come up, once again, long inhale, drop the butt into chair, and rise up. Exhaling prayer hands. Do a little check-in with your heart rate, your temperature. And if you have a block, it would be absolutely wonderful to have available right now because we're going to go into triangle pose. Triangle pose can be kind of added into our warrior series, and I've frequently done that. Today I just want to have the ability to really spend time in it and feel it and find the right level of support. So you're going to be going sideways on your mat in a straddle like so. And I've got a really good sticky mat. This is that Prana Indigena mat, and I love it because I never worry that my hands or feet are going to slip. If you have any feeling like you could slip at all, it becomes more important that you're not taking your feet perhaps as wide as you otherwise might be able to. And then the block is handy because I want the ability to provide a little support for my upper body weight so that I can kind of just relax into it. Could you do it without the block? Sure. But will you get deeper and in more ease with it? Probably.
So I'm just going to have it handy. I'm going to set it over here by my right foot. And I'd like you to notice first just what does it take to root through the entire foot bend. If you kind of bend your knees and angle in, notice how your kind of outer foot, or the blade of your foot as I call it, kind of comes away from the floor. And instead now push down and out, kind of like you're trying to stretch your mat. And I'm hoping you're going to feel the rootedness of the feet, but also that there's now all this wonderful vigor in all of the thigh muscles. A lot of us don't have enough alertness in the quadricep muscles to compete with the tight hamstrings, and we end up with knees that are bent when we don't know that they're bending. So when you're ready, you've got that stability, go ahead and rotate your right foot 90, and I'm planting very intentionally my foot straight forward. And here's where this thigh rotation thing we've been working with becomes really important. If I'm just standing there and I look at my kneecap, it might be rotated a little to the inside of the foot. And instead what I'd like to do is externally rotate my thigh muscles. And I should see that kneecap actually change position. Now I'm in great alignment where I'm going to get a good stretch in the right places and I'm working all the right muscles. So I'm going to have my block kind of right inside of the foot there available for me. And I want you to check that you've got that rotation as you then cock your hip, as I call it, just sort of drop that right hip like so. I've got my left hand on my left hip because I want it to just remind me to keep that external thigh rotation, that I'm not going to take the hip with me because I'm greedy and want to get a hold of that block. I'm going to keep these rotating in the opposite direction. And what I notice is I feel super stable. That back foot is my major foundation, and I'm pressing through the crown of my head, shoulders stacked. So I would much rather be here and reaching first forward and then to here than trying to go deep in the pose and collapsing out of the alignment, okay? So when you're ready with me, just start exploring. Again, you could reach forward first to find that root and reach, but then you're letting the hand come down inside the leg. Check that you haven't lost your rotation in the thigh, and begin just experimenting with breath. Inhaling, exhaling. See if there's all of a sudden a little release that lets you get deeper in the pose. And maybe you find like, oh, I can kind of connect with the block. And I might use that connection to re-establish my alignment. And then maybe give into gravity a little more with breath. And so like right now I can feel a little pull right here. That isn't the same as a great stretch. So I'm going to come back to this position with the block, find a place where I'm not feeling that pull, and then I might stop using the block at that height and just see what this feels like. If I have this arm and it's again too much, I'll keep it here or here. Now to come up out of this pose, really important, I want to come up like there's a pulley bringing my top hand straight up. And this is key because otherwise I'll be tending to think about coming up back and it pulls again in that low back where we're not really wanting to get action. All right, neutral your feet, turn that left foot, get your block handy, pause. Breathing, of course, externally rotating those thighs. Another thing I didn't mention on the other side is we don't want our knee locked. So what you want to do is feel an engagement in that left thigh, like you're squeezing the thigh muscles towards the bone, and it should kind of pop your knee out of a locked position. And again, with my hands on my hips, I'm going to cock that left hip. I'm going to check my top shoulder and get it back over the lower one. And I'm going to check my root and reach, reaching forward with that front hand and breathing. For many of us, this is a lot of work to actually get breath here, right? I might be able to go into a much deeper pose, but not breathe into it. So let's just find out. Letting breath lift you is actually the biggest secret to getting deeper on the exhale. Check that your head is back in alignment with the spine. Most of us, it'll tend to want to draw forward. And you might notice, again, if the two sides are different. there's a pulley lifting you. Release. Turn your feet in a straddle, bend the knees, and fold. Good, and let's just go side to side here. Kind of working it out, loving it up. We're asking a lot, possibly of muscles that haven't really been awake as we're playing with this internal and external rotation. Beautiful. And coming to center, bending the knees deeply. Invitation to just rest here, which is interesting if your heart rate is a little elevated. If that's too much, obviously don't do it in a forward fold. Otherwise, if you'd like to add on, intertwine those hands in your yoga mudra. Again, it might be non-dominant, so you're crossing the opposite thumb on top. And of course, you might grab your strap or a scarf or something here to give you the freedom to really let those shoulder blade wingtips come up off the back. Big breath here. And when you're ready to release, let those arms come down. You can also use them as a little support when you decide to come on up. And I'll walk my feet in a little bit before doing just a couple sort of standing hip pumps, as I call it, where you're using the glute muscles to take the pelvis forward. And nice balance to all the work we've been doing. Good, go ahead and roll those feet out. All right, so I want to bring us one last time into our Sun Salutation C. And so I don't know about you, but especially with talking during all this, my heart rate's up there. I'm hoping yours is too. And so this is going to bring us right to that key challenge of being in integrity. Also, your legs might already feel a little weak. So we need more than ever to use all the right stuff. These abdominal muscles, right, when we're rounding to bring the leg forward, it's almost like I'm doing the tightest sit-up or cat back I possibly can. I'm not just bringing that leg forward, right? So that, and then the steering of the hips, and of course really watching the external rotation in dog. All right. So however you'd like to get into your downward dog, it might be from cow-cat. I'm going to take us in a little bit of a flow. When you are ready, find your mountain stance, feet parallel, anchored. And let's find 3 abiding breaths. On your next inhale, when you're ready, sweep up. Maybe you add a little back bend, big butt squeeze. Exhaling, fold. Inhaling, extend the spine. Hands might be on the shins or higher. Is there more breath? Exhaling, step or jump back to your downward facing dog. Find your roots, your reach, your settling in. Perhaps even 3-part breath here, which is really strange to think about upside down. Noticing it coming into the belly, the diaphragm, and then the chest. And again, vision is in our drishti gaze between the feet. Nice ujjayi breath flow, making the sound of wind in the trees or ocean waves. Make sure your feet are no more than 6 inches apart, maybe even less. Inhaling, slowly take that right foot flying, hips neutral. Exhaling, round deeply to come forward into your warrior 1. You've got all that exhale to settle in. Inhale, root and rise. Back bend if you want it. Is there more? Exhale, warrior 2. Inhale, reversed or exalted warrior. Exhale, cartwheel it out, downward facing dog. Let's do a nice inhale, exhale, sigh here. Inhale, left leg flying. Rooting, reaching, is there more? Exhaling, rounding deeply. Again, you've got the whole exhale to create your foundation for your warrior one. Steer those hip bones forward. Big inhale. Push the earth away with that back leg. Rise up through your heart. Exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. As you can see, I'm making adjustments in my stance as I need to feel strong and peaceful. Inhaling, reversed or exalted warrior. And exhale, lots of core support. Downward facing dog. Lovely. And your option to come onto your belly for pre-bow bow. I want to give us a final stretch in that front body. Or you could come into standing where you're clasping one ankle at a time for a standing quad stretch. Otherwise, coming into our pre-bow, clasping both ankles, shoulder heads rotating down, big anchoring through the pelvis. Big breath into those thighs. This is another challenging position to get breath, so we have to really watch it, be willful, choose it. And if you want to blossom into bow, press those ankles back into the hands, inhaling. Nice long neck. Deep breath in spite of the challenges. You can do it. Twice more. Last one. And release, either resting on the belly or pressing back child's pose for that counter stretch. I invite you to tune into your breath. Notice its texture. Notice its temperature on your upper lip. And then please find your final shape for tuning into your whole body during our Shavasana. I want to promote once again one of my favorite positions, using the bolster. It does help to have something specifically like this, but you could certainly even roll up a towel and use that along the spine that would kind of open you. I'm placing the end of it on the block, and because in particular it helps you have your head above the heart a little bit. It tends to reduce any of the pressure that you would get in that kind of cervical spine when you're against the floor. So I really love it, and of course you're welcome to find any position. I know on, let's see, last week I think we talked about doing Shavasana with your legs up the wall as a nice option too, for getting circulation more kind of regular and out of the legs and the feet, having all the blood that might have collected from too much sitting. So you might be with your knees bent, like if your back feels like it needs the support. Sometimes people just straighten the legs out here. You might enjoy butterfly. This can be very peaceful. But the main thing is I want to really feel that I can get my shoulder heads kind of rotating open and down. So there's this broadening in the heart space. Please close your eyes. Tune into your breath. Notice it rising and falling, and that there's no effort or manipulation on your part. And this is a lovely time to just scan the body and witness, has anything shifted for you in this practice? Is your energy different? Your level of physical tension or vibrancy shifted? Sometimes after a really good flow, we feel more relaxed than we have in a long, long time. And I hope you've got some of that. Maybe you also feel more energized. What would you like to do with that energy? There's a wonderful saying, where we put our focus grows, or that which we put our focus on grows. And it's a great reminder of the power of attention and where we place our attention. You guys did a beautiful practice just now of having your attention on various parts of the body, and I hope that you got to feel the power of that and how it shifts and supercharges your practice. If you're feeling deeply relaxed, I invite you to stay there for a while longer. Having the body actually requesting Shavasana is one of the great luxuries. I am going to sign off here with Oms and the bowl, but inviting you to stay as deep, as long as you can. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again at the mat soon. If you'd care to join me in Oms, please do. Gather a long inhale. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. Namaste.